Welcome to That One Thing podcast with Kayleen Duffy. Again, the whole point of this podcast is to hear a story that is relevant to you in your life journey and hopefully inspire you. I am so excited about today's episode because I do think I might leave deeply inspired and hopefully one of you all. But I'm so excited to welcome Joe Vasold to That One Thing, ex-pro athlete, 17-year med device career, founder, husband, proud to be dad. And I think something that I'm so excited about is your spiritual journey and how curious you are around that. And again, I have no idea where today is going to go. I just can't wait to learn from you. But I think it's so cool how you and I met. And then I'll let you introduce yourself. But Joe and I are both a part of this community called The Post, ex-athletes. I had the pleasure of interviewing you. I will never forget, I'm like walking the hills of Italy and you're like, me and my wife love to travel and I have gone on this really cool journey, and then got to meet you in person. I left crying after I shook your hand and said, nice meeting. And I'm like, holy shit. So Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm very curious to see where we're going to go, but I'm excited to be here though.
So am I.
Yeah.
I seriously think, again, there's so much to talk about, but I almost just found myself getting emotional. You clearly have a story to tell, and I think are really proud of like the path that's led you to who you are right now. And I truly think, whether it's me or someone that listens to this podcast, you have a serious ability to impact people. So I'm nervous. I'm like, what is he going to pull out of me today?
Oh, I hope I can live up to this.
But Joe, tell us who you are. Like, obviously there's so many depths to you, but like, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? And we'll go from there.
Yeah. So originally from here in New York, from Long Island. And yeah, I moved to California for a couple of years, 3 years after college, and then I came back. But I grew up just athlete, playing 3 sports, not really knowing what the heck was anything. Single mom, 3 brothers, so kind of like very blue collar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, life has been a crazy whirlwind of synchronicities that it's just a chain of events that, because it's funny when I was thinking about the name of the show, like That One Thing. And I was like, man, there's so many one things
totally
in that chain. So yeah, there's a lot for us to be able to explore.
Yeah. I want to ask a question around something you just said, that life is just kind of built of many synchronicities. Sorry, I can't speak today, but Did you always believe that?
It's funny because I did, but I never knew what it was.
Interesting.
Right. And I can trace like all the big moments or things that have happened in my life. Like I can go back to middle school and a decision where it was like I was sitting there and there was a decision that had to be made, and it was like just clear-minded, but I didn't know what a clear mind was. And then decision was made, and like you look back and you're like, if I didn't make that, then that doesn't happen. And I mean, everybody kind of has that.
100%.
But mine are like have you read the book Synchronicity by Carl Jung?
No, I've heard of it, but I've not read it.
So it's like a coincidence of meaningful events or something like that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like when you look at them and you take a step back, looking back, you're like, holy crap, like how is this stuff all connected?
Totally.
And as you get later in life, you realize that it's really like when you're living in alignment that like those things are happening, and it's just like it's effortless. And you're like, man, I made that decision. It was a hard decision, but like I knew there was something in there, and people say it was your gut, or people will say it was something, but it's like you just have this alignment inside where it's like, I have to make this decision, or this got introduced to me, and I was like, all right, I'm in. And then it leads to a million things
100%.
after that.
100%. But I feel like typically in those moments, it feels like super duper hard or like way too juicy to handle. And it's not until you've been through many of those events, or you've read a good book, or you've met someone like you that's like, wait a second, this is all happening for me.
Yeah. I mean, I can, in a kind of like a long roundabout way, there's synchronicities that had put me in a position to save my brother's life. And it's a big thing, and it's not like put me in the right place at the right time. It was a series of events that made me prepared to be able to take something massive on and not really understand, like, I was like, oh, I'm built for this. But then like getting through it and getting through the other side of it, you look at it and you're like, wow, like if these things didn't happen,
Yeah.
like this is a completely different situation.
Wow.
And I mean, I can walk you through kind of like the
I was going to
beginning part
say,
of it.
I kind of want to hear that story,
Yeah, I mean,
or
it's,
with what you can share.
yeah, so it's, I don't even know where to start, but so I'll give you kind of like the middle and I'll back into it and I'll take you there. But there was a moment, so I got drafted to play professional lacrosse in California coming out of college. Even that, like I was bartending at that time. I was coming out of college. I was a high school architect teacher. I was like, oh, I'm going to be a teacher and a coach forever. And this is like the life that I want. And it was perfect. And then I was bartending over the summer and I get a phone call like, hey, we want to draft you to play in the NLL. Will you move to California?
Wow.
And people from Long Island, especially my town, like you don't leave. Like
Yeah.
they stay there. You don't even like cross a bridge to go to Manhattan. You
Yeah.
know? And I was just like, I didn't talk to anybody about it. I just like, yeah. And he's like, will you do this? Will you do this? I was like, yeah, I'm in. So I moved to California. Now, I played for the San Jose Stealth for the NLL, and then I ended up playing for the San Francisco Dragons in the MLL. And during that time, I had gotten hurt. And I was coaching. So like, it was this crazy process where it was Silicon Valley, and they take all the professional players and you like sit at a round table and the parents interview you. And they pick like who they want to be their coach, like, and then they'll fight for you and whatever,
Wow.
right? And I get picked by this club called the Red Hawks, and it turns out that like the parents and the kids and like they were just the most wonderful people.
Yeah.
They weren't expecting someone like me because I was like very New York, kind of like meathead with UFC friends and all of that stuff at that point.
And now look at you.
And now look at me.
It's hilarious.
But yeah, so we go through this whole thing. I come super close to the team, and what happened was I had gotten hurt, and the parents took care of me. And then I go play for the MLL. I move back home, and I'm finishing like my student teaching. So I'm poised to take a job. Everybody was fighting for teaching jobs. I had a couple offers on the table, and I get a phone call from one of the kids that I was super close with, this kid Logan. And his mom was battling cancer, and me and him became really close. And he calls me, he's like, hey coach, like season's about to start, like when are you coming back? Like what's the running schedule? What are we doing? And I had no intention on going back to California.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey buddy, I'll call you. And I had never done this. I went to my mom's house, and I never really like confided in my mom like that. But I sat there at her kitchen table like in tears, and I'm like, how could I be a coach and a teacher the rest of my life when I promised these kids that I would come back and finish that year with them? So to back into that story, the day of the state championship, it was the day before my first MLL game. And the coach was like, hey, you're here to play professional. And I was like, all right, well, the team that we're playing in the States, like we've already beat them once before. So I had like my assistant coach and the parents were all like chipping in.
Yeah.
I was practicing with my phone in my pocket. And I get a text message that says like, hey, down by 4 at halftime, don't know what to do. And I literally go to my coach. I'm like, look, man, like, I don't know what to tell you, but I got to fucking go.
Yeah.
So I jumped in my car, and it was in San Francisco. I drive like 30 minutes. I get there like middle of the third period or third quarter, and the kids are crying. Like I call a timeout. We rally the troops. We get everybody together, and 30 seconds left. We tie the game. People are going bananas. We off the face-off, get a penalty. They score, and we lose. And I stand there in front of the parents who took care of me when I was sick. I was super close with the kids, and I'm like, next year this, this is my fault, you know, blah, 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 blah. Fast forward, and then I get this call from Logan like, hey, when are you coming back? So I have to choose, am I taking this job teaching, or am I going to go back? And my mom's like, you have to take the job teaching. You have to do this, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I got to go. So I just like, no job, nothing, like go back to California to coach this high school club lacrosse team.
Yeah.
And when I get there, the parents had like placed me in a house, and I was only planning to be there for the season. So I was going to be there for a couple of months. The people I moved in with worked at this company, Stryker. And I was like, okay,
Whoa.
I need a job while I'm here. And the people that I moved in with were Hawaiian, but they were living in California. So again, like New York, tough guy, living with like super like Hawaiian, I love you, like emotional, like amazing human beings. Within a couple of weeks, they completely turned my life upside down. Like saying I love you to a friend, or like being friendly, like that's not how I grew up, right? Like you just bust balls, and like that's how it worked. And they got me introduced to the company that I'd worked for 17 years.
Wait, question, when your mom is telling you, well, you should take this job, like this is kind of what people in our town do, like, and you even talked about it, they were competitive, you already had all these offers and everyone's waiting for these teaching opportunities. Like, what was your gut telling you in that moment when this guy called you, or when
Logan called?
Yeah.
I literally, it's a familiar feeling, right? That gut feeling, but it was like painful. Like it was so painful when I was like, how would I feel if I don't go? And I'm like, for the rest of my life, I will have made this commitment to this group of kids, and I'm going to have so many groups of kids moving forward, right? If I'm going to be a coach every year, I'm going to have new kids that I'm responsible for. And I'm like, I just can't have it hanging over my head. So when I made it, it was just like such an intense feeling that like when I made the decision, the pain, the anxiety completely disappeared. So I was like, okay. I didn't even really know what gut feelings were at that point. So now I'm working for this company. I'm about 18 months in. I signed to work in California for 3 years. 18 months in, I get a phone call, and I'm talking to the regional manager in the New York area. We're hanging up the phone, and he's like, hey, if you ever want to get back to New York, like, let me know. And I'm like, New York is home. Like, I always want to get back. He's like, well, I'm hiring someone tomorrow. He's like, you can jump on a red eye tonight. I'll pick you up at the airport and interview you. So I talked to my boss. He's like, yeah, go ahead. So get on the red eye, picks me up, takes me to one account. We stop at a diner, drinks me right back to the airport. And when I land, I have an email that says, like, you have 5 days to move to New York.
Wow.
So I have to drop my life in California, pick up, move back to New York. And I start working in the Connecticut, Westchester area. And I become close with an orthopedic surgeon, this guy, Craig Tifford, who now he's passed recently in the last couple of years. But me and Craig became super close. And he had gone through this whole battle with cancer and like this whole thing. And he had this gala and like all these things. And like I went to his gala and hung out with Darrell Revis. And then I had this like crazy night with Darrell Revis in the city, which is another whole story. But fast forward, I'm in New York. I moved back, I think it was like October 2010.
Okay.
August 2011, I get a phone call from my mom. She's hysterical crying. Your little brother has cancer. What are you going to do about it? And I'm like, well, like simple problem solving. Like, let me just start checking all the boxes. And it was testicular cancer. And at that point, like the research shows like 95% of the time, like you do an orchiectomy, you do a round of chemo, and then like everybody's good. It turns out that my brother is in that 5%. And it went as far as like I moved him in with me, like took on all of his expenses, was paying his bills. He never saw a doctor without me. Like we were going through this. And before like it got really intense, we were at a hospital on Long Island, and they're like, yep, chemo's done. Like he's gonna come back in a couple of months and we'll scan him and we'll check him. And like I had that same feeling. I'm like, something's not right. Something's off. So I called Craig. I'm like, hey man, can you get me into Sloan Kettering? I want to get there and I just need to figure this out. He's like, sure. He calls his docs. They get me in the next day. We bring him in. The doc comes back like immediately after the scan. He's like, he needs major surgery like tomorrow. Like it is all through his body. It's in his lungs. It's in his lymph nodes. It's in his liver. Like it's fucking everywhere. And so then I look back. I'm like, okay, if I'm at my mom's table and I go in the other direction, then I don't have crazy. That, right? And like that moment, that shift put us in that. But then also like the job put me in a financial position to be able to take care of him, gave me like access to hospitals. And there was a bunch of stuff that happened after that. But that was a 3-year process. So he would go through a treatment, it would come back, we would be cured, then it would come back. And it would like all these things would go up and down. And then we took on this mindset of just like, okay, what's next?
Yep.
Good news, what's next? Bad news, what's next? And it brought me to a point that was like the worst moment of my life was when it was about 10 p.m. and his oncologist called me and he's like, hey, like we haven't really, like you've been in control of the messaging to your brother. Like we want to give you the opportunity to tell him that he's not going to beat this. And I remember just like right away be like, okay, not processing that. What about this? What about this? And he's like, Joe, like we've done the surgeries. He's had high dose chemotherapy. That's like it. Like the high dose high dose chemo was like, that's it.
Yeah.
And it started coming back again. And talking about just like kind of like synchronicities and showing up and being in the right place at the right time. Like I would always go to his treatments, and he was sleeping during a treatment, and him and me and the oncologist were just like chatting in the hallway. And we were talking about this study that was for Hodgkin's lymphoma that targeted this marker called CD30. And he's like, your brother has CD30 in his cancer. It's not common, but like it's there. And so on that phone call, I'm like, well, what about that? He's like, I can't. He's like, it's up in New York Oncology up in Albany. I don't think we can get him into the study, but we're going to try. And so there was still like that little glimmer of like, all right, it's not over until he tells me like that. So that night, horrible, like broken down in my apartment in Astoria alone, just like.
Yeah, I cannot imagine.
Yeah. But calls me, he gets into this study. We bring him up there. He starts doing this, this trial. It kind of like what it would do is like it would target the cancer and like put the chemo into the cancer and not make the healthy cells sick. So like kind of future stuff where things are headed right now.
Yeah.
We get through a couple months of that and cancer completely disappears. And
Like healthy to this day.
12 years cancer free. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can like, and there's a lot of things that happen in between that, right? But you can look at any of those coincidences, and I can go back to like when I was deciding to play lacrosse, because I didn't, like everyone plays lacrosse at an early age. I didn't start till 7th grade. And then it was like, am I going to wrestle in college? Am I going to play football in college? Am I going to play lacrosse in college? I thought I was going to wrestle and play football at Springfield. And then like, I read like right before I was signing, like I got a call from like my coach, my college coach, and he's like, hey, we can get you a full scholarship if you come here. I was like, sold. And we go there and we win 2 national championships, and that kind of put me in the position to get drafted, which put me in the position to get to California, which put me in the position to, so like synchronicities to me are very real. At that point I was living in alignment because I didn't know any better. And now everybody does so much work to try to like figure out their truth, right? Like their true self, and like, what is that? And what does that mean, so that I can get to it and I can live in alignment, and then like synchronicities will flow around me. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that.
When was it, like, was it after your brother gets healed cancer free that you like, I mean, you made, oh my God, you made the comment, like you were probably already living in alignment and didn't know it. I guess like at what point did you wake up and say like, wait a second?
There's a lot of life that happens after that.
Yeah.
Right. I went on this. So him and I, when we started that, I was 25, he was 24. My brother's 14 months younger than me.
My sister's 15 months younger.
Yeah. So by the time it all kind of like finished, I was 28, and I had missed like the middle of and I was starting my sales career, like just started like making enough money to like do stuff. When 28 hit, I'm like, because there's so many times, so many nights that I literally just said, take my life in exchange for his, right? And I think something clicked in me when I realized he was going to make it. Well, I was like, well, now you're on borrowed time, because I offered that up.
Yeah.
Right. Not saying that that's what it is, but that's just how I felt.
Sure.
So I'm like, I'm traveling, I'm doing whatever. I started traveling the world with friends and partying, and like, I just had this crazy viewpoint on life. Like I would meet people in Europe and I would just like fall in love with them as like friends and people. Like I was so curious. I just wanted to just like be around energy and experience and all that stuff. So I went wild for a couple of years, just like doing that stuff. And then I got into a relationship in New York that was for a long time. And when that ended, I was kind of like, all right, what is like this new thing? I didn't really like, I had this like new life. I didn't want to get back into like dating and stuff like that. And then after like when COVID happened, like I started writing a lot, which I'd always done, but I never like really like did it.
Were you writing previously just like from a journaling perspective, or you creative writing, or?
I would always have these things just like pop up.
Yeah.
And it would be like very clear in my head. And I'm like, just write it. And I would just either write it on the computer, I'd write it on paper or something, and then it would just be stuffed away and I would never think about it.
Yeah.
when COVID happened, I started like being I was listening more because I had more time on my hands. So I started like writing. I'm like, man, you write about like spirituality a lot. Like it was like a very reoccurring thing to me.
Yeah.
And then I think as like just kind of like age and getting older, I kind of got over the partying stuff. And then I met my now wife, and this crazy turn brought me to like plant medicine and ayahuasca, which was completely unintentional. I wasn't looking for it, but somehow ended up there. And it wasn't until that where everything then made sense.
What was the crazy turn?
So her and I, it was end of the year, like someone who travels a lot, like I needed to take one flight on Delta to get status. So we were having dinner and we like threw stuff in a hat and asked the server to come and just like pick, and we're like, whatever this is, like we have to do it. So she wrote like trip, or it was either like a solo trip or a couple's trip to like Paris or Italy or whatever, da 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 da. I have no idea why I wrote ayahuasca in Costa Rica, because I was trying to think of the most wild thing to put down.
So there was like no intent,
none,
no interest, just
none.
like this could be a crazy thing.
I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, this seems like what would be the craziest thing I could write as a trip, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, like I didn't know ayahuasca was spiritual, right? Like I thought it was just like this intense, like serious, like thing. So I put it down, and of course that's what was picked, right?
Wow.
Turns out Delta did not fly to Costa Rica for the trip, so I ended up not doing it.
No way.
Fast forward 6 months later, me and my wife were in the kitchen, and she made a comment because I did something or I didn't do something that I was supposed to, and she said under her breath, like, "Yeah, like you're supposed to go to Costa Rica," and I was like,
interesting.
Open up the computer, find a trip, and just booked it.
Wow.
So when I went, I had the group that I went with, it's called One Heart Journeys. Amazing people, facilitators, experience. It's like an 8-week program.
Yeah.
So I got a little bit of an introduction going into it of like intention setting, like what are you trying to get out of this, all of these things. And when I got there, like I still had no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah.
Like I imagined like sitting in like some broken down wood shed, dark, like throwing up all over the place, like not knowing what's like completely out of body. Like, but it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that at all. It was a completely, I mean, life-changing is kind of like cliche to say, but it was, I wouldn't say life-changing. It was more of like an awakening.
Yeah.
Because like you have these parts of you that are there that maybe you don't bring them out as much.
Yeah.
And then this just like throws this massive magnifying glass on them, and like these are the real parts of you.
Yeah.
And then you see them so vividly that you're not willing to turn your back on them again.
Yeah.
And like that process, like I had no intention of like not drinking again. I just completely lost my taste for it or idea of it. I'm like, I couldn't imagine being drunk again.
Yeah.
It just seemed like this, like, and I could tell you a lot about that too, but it was super interesting.
Wait, I want to get into the ayahuasca piece, but I am curious. So like, I actually remember you telling me that story in the elevator, but like, where was your spiritual state the day of, I'm just being really specific, but it's New Year's Eve, you and your wife are like, let's do something crazy. Like, where were you? Again, you mentioned these things, like, I think the reason I'm asking this, it's like, I think spirituality is so talked about right now, but I feel like people don't know, like, am I in a ripe enough space to like go to Costa Rica and do ayahuasca? I think about me. Am I ripe enough to go? My first retreat, I was in the Redwoods with no cell service doing like this weird breath work. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Yeah. But I think so many people are afraid of like, I think when you choose this path, there are parts of it that are not easy. Like you think about it, it's like,
it's not easy.
No, it's not. And I think so many people are so afraid of that. But I'm just curious, what was the state? This is, now we're about to lose it. But like, where was your state when you guys did this fun exercise as a couple? And then I'm also curious, just like, we were kind of talking about this offline. Like, I think you said a percentage. I'm like 95% of people just walk around unconscious and are not in alignment or don't know to listen to that gut feeling. Like, one, where was your state? And then two, Why do you think we're so afraid as a community to like listen to this and go on this journey?
Yeah. So I was in my mind, I was in a solid state, right? Because in what I thought ayahuasca is like your darkest corners, like it's taking you there.
Yeah.
Like, so a lot of people that I talked to, especially after, it was super interesting when I got home, how many people did not want to talk about it. Like my best friends didn't want to talk about like, what was it like? What was like, just tell me about the experience. Like they almost wanted to stay clear of it. So when it was
So
happening to
interesting.
me, I was like, man, work is good. Like life is good. I feel really good about myself. I feel really like, and I've always had a take on spirituality that like, it's just about good and bad. It's really that simple. And everybody has their version of good and bad of like, so that's where it becomes a little nuanced. But for me, like good and bad is just like always doing like the right thing when nobody's looking, especially, right? So little things like you're checking out of a hotel room, right? Most people pack their stuff up, they're rushing, whatever, and they run out of the room. I always clean the room. I always write a thank you note, and I always leave whatever cash, 5, 10, 20, whatever, on the table and just say thank you for whoever's coming in the room.
Wow.
Right? No one is ever going to see it. I'm never going to meet the person who's going to get it, but it's something that I've always done. And I don't know why I always did that, but it was part of me. Same thing with like littering or anything like that. Like I used to think that I just had OCD, where I was like, if I were folding, because I fold things like a certain way. If one shirt was like lazy and the corner was like off and I went to put it away, it would just sit at me and it's like, you're the only one that knows that. And I'd be like, I got to go change it. And I would go fix it because it's like, I'm the only one, right? So I felt like I was in a really strong place spiritually. It's like, I believe in what's good. And so I was
And
like,
to your standard, you were doing what
yeah,
felt good and what you knew to be good.
yeah. So I was like, all right, if it's going to take me to some dark place, like, let's go. Like maybe it's, I don't know what. So it's definitely scary, right? For a lot of people. And a lot of people have some really dark stuff and they don't want to face it. I think because they don't realize that what comes from it is like, it will show you that it will bring you there, like maybe, but it's also going to show you how to get out of it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why people talk about like these things are like 7 years of therapy in like one session. The other caveat to that is like, I had been in therapy once a week for like 6 years leading up to it. So I've done like a lot of work to just kind of like understand things. And I feel like I was in a really good spot. And I think a lot of people are hesitant because like maybe they haven't done that work, or maybe they're just scared of what's going to come up. And they're like, maybe they're just scared of like the actual act of like, oh, I'm just going to be throwing up in a bucket and da-da. It's like, it's very different than what do you think with the right people. I think you're seeing a lot of stuff now, like kind of fake shamans, fake retreats, and like everybody's trying to be whatever, and the world is trying to monetize like what spirituality really is, especially with these indigenous people. But if you are in the right scenario, like the breakthroughs that happen, the connections that happen, the love that happens is like, it's such a beautiful, wonderful experience. So,
Yeah.
so the people that are afraid of it, like in ayahuasca, they'll always say like, you can't convince somebody to go.
Yeah.
Like the medicine will you'll know. Like if you're called to it, you're going to know.
Yeah.
But I do think like there's a lot of work that can happen leading up to it, because the more curious you become about yourself, a lot of people don't sit down and really think like, why are you here? Right? Like if I were to ask you that question right now, like, why are you here? What would you say?
I mean, I feel like in my core, now you're making me want to go do plant med, but I feel like I was put on this earth to serve people, right? Like, I think that that's still evolving into like, what does that actually mean? But like, I feel like since I was like literally 7, I would tell my parents, like, I'm here to lead and serve. Like I've felt that my whole life.
So where does that leave you? If you're in a constant state of serving, where does that leave you?
Sometimes tired.
Yeah. So a lot of that work is like, because I was that, right? I will show up for anybody, stranger, friend, it doesn't matter. I'm always there for everybody, like no matter what. I think people are starting to hide behind some of this work now, being like, I have to put myself first and I don't have to forget everybody else and all this other stuff. I mean, there's a balance to that. And there's not like, you don't have to be like super like self-sacrificing, but like, I think it's like understanding like why your true self, and understanding, really understanding like the limited time that you have and how you want to spend it, and all of that.
Yeah.
Also, while being like a good family member, good friend, a good member of the community, and giving back and serving. And to me, it all just comes back to like that, like good versus bad, right? Like if you see somebody is in need of help, like the good choice is to help, right? It doesn't mean that I have to like ruin my life in order to help other people and be self-sacrificing. But at the end of the day, like being selfless, right, there's something to that, because like the human species is really interesting, because like we can make decisions like that, and it's not out of just instinct, right? It's over either conditioning or it's like societal stuff and whatever. So that's like another whole crazy thing to talk about. But I think at the end of the day, like these spiritual journeys, and I can tell you about one of the ceremonies so you get an idea. And this goes back to synchronicity, right? So I posted
Can I ask one question quickly?
Please.
Because, and I don't want to go down too far, because I think you giving exposure to what a ceremony looks like, but I think your comment around people actually hiding behind some of the spiritual stuff is like a fascinating comment, because I think about someone like me, just even your comment around balance. It's like, so I identified as this like intense people pleaser my whole life. And I think almost hid behind that mask, right? Well, like even you calling me out, I'm like, shit, there's some stuff to think about there. But it was like, I almost hid behind, well, I'm here to serve. So by me living through with my purpose that God or the universe has put me for, you know, then I'm sacrificed a little bit. Then I feel like there was an overcorrection of going on these retreats, setting these intense boundaries, then being like, well, that doesn't feel right either. Right? Because helping people, to your point, you see someone in need, that like genuinely feels good as a human being. I would love for you just to share a little bit more about that and how you have found balance. Because it sounds like, even think about you sacrificing for your brother, and pardon me if that's not how you looked at it, but 25 to 28, essentially like taking care of your brother, that's a massive sacrifice. When you're at like the peak of like, just in your sales career, you're in your 20s in New York or in a store, whatever. But like, I'd love for you. That is such a fascinating comment.
Yeah, I mean, I think helping other people is a very quick way to say I don't need help. Right. And because it takes like, if I'm the helper, I don't need help. And if you think about that, you say it a couple of times and you like actually dig in, that's when people will like are either hesitant to ask for help because of weakness or whatever. And especially in a lot of like men's groups and things I talk to, like it's taboo, like the men have to like be the solid rock and take all that stuff on. But and I think there's this weird transition happening, because I'm talking about like masculine and feminine, like you lose people right away, right? Like you say anything divine masculine, divine feminine, like people are just like especially if they're not in that world, right? But I think like the feminine nature of the intuition of knowing when to ask for help, or knowing when to offer help, or being able to help from abundance, or being able to help from like solid ground. I don't think you always have to be solid to help other people. Like sometimes like it's gonna be rocky, but you're still gonna reach a hand out and try to work through shit. So I think like when I think about the spirituality component, and you meet some people that I'm like, oh, how many retreats have you been on? They're like 50. I'm like, if you're always searching, like how are you present? Right? So if you're constantly searching, like when, and everything about it is being present, right? Like in this moment, in this now, if you're always looking for something, then you're not there. So I think there's a balance of knowing what you're looking for, but then taking the time to like sit in it and integrate it into your life, right? Like the lessons that you learn on these retreats and with these conversations, like the integration circles are like where the magic happens.
Could not agree more.
Yeah.
I literally feel like I wish I had a notepad. The comment around us feeling like we have to be stable to help people. Again, I think that's kind of where my shift went, was it was like, I'm going to wear this mask of helping people, have no idea who the hell I am, then quickly overcorrect. I feel like the biggest growth internally and in terms of relationships were when I actually led first, being like, I need your help. I might have mentioned this too when we were like outside the post, but the last retreat I went on, I sent, and it was not the same to these different groups of people, but just like, hey, I think I mentioned this during that breath work. I just was like crying like a little baby, being like, shit, I help all these people. I never asked for help. And it was literally like this little girl in me. And I sent out a text to my family, my 2 best friends at home, my 2 best friends in New York. And it was, again, very personal to them. But I was like, guys, you know what I've realized? I need help too. And I don't know what I need help with right now, but I'm telling you, like, I'm done acting like I don't need it. And I'm telling you, I feel like I could get emotional. Those relationships have like changed because I had this idea that I had to be this such solid person, and asking for help was so weak. Or the only place I could help from was when I was solid after a bunch of therapy. And it's like some of the coolest moments actually have been in the last 6 months. And there's been so much learning and growth. And by just asking for help, it's like the impact I've had on other people is way better than when I'm leading from a place of like a higher than perfection. I don't even know.
Yeah, no, because ironically, like, asking for help is strength. It's not weakness,
100%.
right? Because like you have that own belief in yourself where you're deserving.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the bigger turning points, is like understanding that you are deserving. And I always kind of use kind of like maybe it's a dark example, but have you ever been with anybody when they've passed?
No.
So I've been in that situation a couple of times, and when you think about it, and this kind of touches on what we talked on in the post too, but there's a moment where there's this vehicle of flesh and bone and all these insanely intricate operating systems that make up a human being, and the consciousness is there. They have memory, they have preferences, they have identity, and then it's gone. And then you realize that like the memory, the body, all of these things, the identity was never real. It was just that vehicle that was being embodied. And when I think of that, and I think of like, wow, how fascinating is it that we don't even have the ability to define consciousness. Like, we try as humans to put like labels on it and all of that stuff, but like to truly understand, how does this spark go on and then leave, and where does it leave, and does it come back, and all of these things. When you think about being deserving, right, like, why would any physical body be more deserving than another when all of them are just these loaned, rented vehicles, when this kind of like light is going to come and this light is going to leave? And when you start to think like these big picture things, like, the mind will shut down, right? You start thinking about space, mind will shut down. You start thinking about like God and the creator and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to shut down because like it's just so massive.
100%.
But when you think about it on like just the human level of like, what makes the light that turned you on any different than the light that turned me on? So why would I ever be afraid to ask for help, or why would I ever be afraid to offer help? Like, what is, like, none of that stuff, when you think about it, is like, everyone is completely deserving.
Yeah.
So I think when you start to go down this, like, am I here to be a servant? Am I here to whatever? I think it's just about turning inward and really understanding like what feels right. Like, in this moment, you know what? I'm the one who needs help.
Mm-hmm.
And in this moment, like, I see you need help. Like, it's going to be hard for me, but you know what? I think the right decision is for me to help you right now. Or if you need help and I can't do it, I have to have the courage to say, look, I would love to help you. I can't. Like, I just can't, right? And that's the hard thing, is like, how do you turn to your mom or your dad or anybody, like, say they need help financially, and you're like, look, it's not in the cards. I can't do it right now.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, like, you have to help me. Otherwise, like, this is going to happen. I'm going to lose my house. If you don't help me, I'm going to lose my house. And you're like, well, I'm sorry, but I can't. And that's been some of the hardest moments that like I've gone through with like friends and family, or someone that like really needed help, especially coming out of like the last couple of years of the spirituality, of being like, knowing like it's not aligned like right now. And it's not like you get aligned and you're on this train track and it stays there, right?
Totally.
Like you get off, you get on,
Yeah.
something will knock you off. Like it's a million things are going to happen, but
Yeah.
it's always about just trying to come home, right? And coming home is like that inner self. It's like do everything you can. It's just like breath work. It's just like meditation. Like things are going to knock you off. Just make your way back home.
Yeah. Wow. I want to give you the space to talk a little bit about the ayahuasca component and what came out of that for you. But I think what you just said could literally be 2 hours of itself. I think that some of the scariest moments I have had with like, and I not to compare journeys. It's like, I obviously share this with you. Like some of the things that you've done, I have really a lot of interest around, but like, when you truly know yourself, you're probably going to hurt some people. You're probably going to say no to someone and it's really going to hurt their feelings but I think that is so fascinating what you're saying. And I think, I don't know if it's society conditions, family conditions, and I feel very grateful for the family I grew up in, but I think like most of the world just lives to even your question to me earlier is there to serve, and you're a part of a family and you're a part of a community and you just do things for others. But the amount of people that can't go to sleep at night because they're anxious, because they lent too many hands or they said yes to too many things and avoided themselves for 3 weeks. Like you're just making me think, and it's so inspiring. It's like,
yeah, I think one of the interesting things when you come out of it, is you kind of like, you have this, the interesting thing is your life changes. The world around you changes. Your view on the world changes. And then you come home and realize nothing else has changed to anybody else.
yep.
So you have these different views, you have all this, but they're the same. And you're very quick to say like, you are no longer aligned with me. Like I'm in this, and therefore like I will not subscribe to this any longer. It's really interesting to see how friendships fall off when you simply don't have alcohol of like as like a buffer of like why you're going to hang out.
Yeah.
Like to go sit with a friend and not drink when your whole life has been about drinking. It's really interesting because then you actually have to talk about something, and you realize that kind of like uncomfortableness, and in a lot of ways, like you being that version of yourself makes other people feel comfortable, and the new version of yourself will probably make them feel uncomfortable.
Yep.
And they will kind of quickly turn from you, where it's like, you're boring, you're different, you've changed, you're whatever. They throw all these different labels at you. But at the end of the day, like, you're so in tune where you're like, okay, that's okay. Like, I have no hard feelings from the friendships that have either fallen off or whatever, like, from this journey, because, like, they're on their own journey, right? Like, they have things to figure out. Like, maybe they'll find this, maybe they won't. It's not for everybody. But at the end of the day, like, it's really, really difficult to see some of those really deep friendships change.
Yeah.
Because now you're like, I'm not willing to sacrifice this anymore. I'm not going to fake it. I'm not going to just numb myself until I'm drunk on the floor because, like, it makes you feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
The first couple times that anybody who stops drinking, like, you go out and everyone's like at the bar drinking and you're not there, and they're like, you're not going to drink, you're not going to do this, you know? And it becomes like this thing. Eventually, like, people just get over it and you just move on. And I think that's what a lot of these experiences, and if it's a retreat or a ceremony or whatever it is, it's really just bringing some hyper awareness to like what you're not willing to sacrifice about yourself anymore.
Yeah.
And you can walk away and see how deserving you are, or you can walk away and see that, like, the concept behind the journey that I did was like leading from a place of love rather than from a place of fear. And really kind of like understanding, like, what does that mean? And anybody who's in the business world or sales and things like that, like, things become non-negotiable, where you're like, no, I'm going to make this decision because, like, I care about this individual, like, top lines, bottom lines, corporate culture, whatever. But at the end of the day, like, you'll very quickly be like, how do I get back into this real world? How do I integrate this spiritual awakening understanding
Yeah.
into business and do it in a way that will make the business stronger?
Yeah.
Because like now I'm committed even further to doing the right thing, which will translate to doing the right thing for customers
Yeah.
or for my employees or whatever that is.
Yeah.
So there's so many ways that it can unfold, and it is, like you said, it's a lot of work. It's not easy work, but it's
Yeah.
work, but it's so meaningful.
Well, and I do think, again, having done a decent amount of retreats now that are around breath work, meditation, amongst other things, I do think if it's absorbed and integrated correctly, like it only benefits people around you.
Yeah. Well, I think so. Let me touch on breath work too, because like
Please.
breath work is where it's like my heart is right now. Not right now, but like my heart is there.
Yeah.
So one of the things like coming out of these journeys, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to get all of my friends to come do ayahuasca
Yeah.
or sit with it. Like it's a lot for a lot of people. And in the experience, like we did this breath work session and I was in there and it was an intense session. It was only about 20 minutes, but I got into there and it was as powerful as like the ayahuasca. Like I was having breakthroughs. I was crying. I was all of these things. I'm like, what the heck is happening? Like I'm just breathing. So came out of that and like watching the friendships kind of like shift, like really understanding like, man, I wish I can just get people to like understand this a little bit more, just a little bit. And I thought about that breathwork stuff. So then through a good friend of mine, she introduced me to this guy in Colombia, and him and I chatted in one phone call. I'm like, I'm coming to Colombia. We did this 7-day breathwork immersion to learn to facilitate and all of this stuff. We sat with a plant medicine called San Pedro. I did combo. It was like all of this like crazy stuff, but it was really about like the breath. And because I'm like, the breath is always with you. And so many people go through a day never having any control over their breath.
Yeah.
Right. And there's so much that can happen from it, like physically, mentally, spiritually. Like there is so much that can happen from the breath. And there's science on it, but it's like one of those things that people just breathe over, right? Like they don't really like, but it's there, right?
Yeah.
Like anxiety, depression, like all of these things, clarity, like, and then also like these massive breakthroughs. So at the end of the time there, I was actually able to co-facilitate a group of 10 people.
Wow.
And being on that side of it, I like never really believed in like energy and all of that stuff. It was like kind of hocus pocus to me, but in that session, I had never felt what I had felt being the facilitator.
And this was after you had done breathwork yourself, after you had done ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And you still thought the energy was interesting.
Yeah, I'm like energy, like, I genuinely believe in like the vibrations of people and the attraction, and that's a whole nother conversation. But I didn't really like, so in this breathwork session, I would walk by somebody and it would grab me, like latch onto me, like a physical feeling where there was no denying it. And I was even like, this is like something's weird. So there, and everybody's blindfolded. And I went behind this one guy and he was sitting there, hands on his chest, and he's like breathing. So I put my arms around him and I like literally felt like a click, like I was putting on a snowboard, like clicked in, and I went like this and his arms just went up in the air. And I was like, so then I did it again, arms went up in the air. And then I would go from person to person and I could connect. And like when people were weeping, I would start weeping. When people were going through stuff, like you would just feel it. And I was like, oh my God, like this is such powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And that has brought me on this kind of like newfound exploration. Like I'm trying I'm going very deep into understanding like the breath, the science of it, to help like facilitate and bring it to people. It's something that's going to always be part of my life. And I think it's a good transition for people where it's like, I'm interested in spirituality, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like if you're down to do a yoga class, like you should be down to do a breathwork class.
100%.
And to me, like breathwork is something because it's like, you can do it literally anywhere. You don't need a yoga mat. You don't need anything. Like you can sit in this chair and we can take you on a journey that like, when I did my session in Colombia, it like the best way to describe it, and I use this when I facilitate, is like a rocket ship. And you start breathing and it's like a rocket, like waiting to take off.
Yep.
All of a sudden, like the flares come out of the bottom. It's loud, it's violent. It's building up, it's building up, it's building up. Then the rocket goes up and it's loud and it's loud and it's loud and it's going and going. And then it breaks the atmosphere and it's quiet. And all of a sudden you're in this like place of what would take like so much meditation to get into that place.
It's wild.
And I got there and I literally walked over to my version of my inner child, right? And we like looked at each other and we talked to each other about how proud of one another that we are, you know, and it was in that like in my next ayahuasca journey, like brought me back to that same moment, same conversation, as if like it just transported me back. And we picked up that conversation and he just looked at me and he's like, look, you don't have to look back anymore. There's no more healing to do with me.
Wow.
And he's like, you are now like what I needed as a father. Wow. So for me, like I got to that moment and I was like, because that's what I needed as a father, right? Like to have that moment of wow. That version of me say, like, I'm so proud of you. Like, and then to me, look at him and be like, none of this was your fault, right?
Yeah.
And then what the medicine does is it brings you to an appreciation of everything that brought you there, all of the hard stuff, right? Like our parents, it's not their fault, right? Like we're in this weird group of people that are, some of us, who are going to be like the generational trauma healers, right? It's why a lot of us ultimately are like getting married later, because we have a lot of that shit to figure out, right? I ultimately think like our kids are probably going to get married younger than us.
Interesting.
Because people think like it's all about life experience and me this and me that. It's like, no, life with a partner is so much more vibrant and it's so much more meaningful. But we had to heal that trauma of like really understanding it, right? So we took on that burden.
Interesting.
Which is something to me, I'm like, I'd sacrifice that all day, right? Like I have had an amazing life experience wise, very fortunate. Like I've gone through a lot, but all very much worth it. But to get to that point, like through breath work and all of that stuff and be like, man, this is such an incredible modality or just an incredible thing to have, which you can do at any time.
And it's free.
And it's free, right? Like I know people like are hesitant about it because like you don't really get it. I would challenge anybody. Like if you don't think the breath can really impact you, sit down, close your eyes, and just like a Wim Hof, like take 30 deep breaths all the way in, all the way out, as hard as you can, and tell me that your physical state hasn't changed. Now think about if you did that in a guided way.
Yep.
Right? So there's so much that can come from it, so much goodness and so much exploration, inner exploration. And then it just makes you, again, like when you start to get that, you're like, man, that's where the service piece comes in.
Yeah.
Because if you were to ever ask me, like, what do you want to be? Like, my answer is just a role model. I want to be the example.
Yeah.
Not to force anybody to understand, like, or to live the way that I think that they should live, right? It's just to be the version of me that maybe inspires that one person, right? Like, we talked about that on the street. It's like, you don't have to show anybody the light. You just have to be the light.
Totally.
And if they see it, if that's the way that it's going to shake out, then that's the way it's going to shake out.
Yeah.
So
I want to go back to a little bit of, you talk about breath work, ayahuasca, being the light, like, and you and I have talked a little bit about this offline, but the integration piece.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's probably way more there around like friendships that have changed and comments people probably have made about you and all that stuff. Like, how do you manage that? Because I think even going back to what we were talking about earlier, there's something scary around, I think, doing the work and whatever that means to you, whether it's therapy, breath work, going to Costa Rica, doing ayahuasca. Like, I think it's quite intimidating to a lot of people because there's going to be versions of you that shed completely that don't allow you to connect with people you've connected with for 35 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that I'd love your take on that, because I think this is something that people need to hear around, like, okay, this is how Joe manages it, but like on the other side is something you could probably never imagine.
Yeah, I think what I learned is you just have to have grace for other people, right? Like, just because you go through something, like I said, like they didn't, and you want them to accept you, and you want them to understand. The hardest thing for me was like, okay, I went through this crazy ayahuasca experience, didn't know what I was getting myself into, walked out of it, mind blown, changed, all of these things. And then you come back to something like New York City. And like the Costa Rica thing is like, you're in the motherland, right? Like you're in the jungle. It's beautiful.
Totally.
Like the, even like where you sit with the medicine is in this maloca in the middle of this beautiful garden. And it's like, you're just eating fresh food and you're not connected to anything in your phone. And you just have this like crazy experience. And you come back and all of a sudden you have like Wi-Fi and like all these things like come back at you. And then your friends that are like the ones that literally a couple of weeks ago were like, hey, let's go to the bar, let's watch a game, let's do this, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I used to pride myself on being the one that could like drink all night, but then I would be at the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Like, and you were kind of like the party pusher and you're this whatever. And then when you see yourself not be that and you see things falling apart, it gets lonely. And to me, that's the integration is like, how do you handle that?
Yeah.
How do you handle coming back to a sales job and being like, why the fuck would I care about sales? What does it mean? Right? What does it mean in the big picture?
Totally.
And obviously it's a job, you have commitments and you have all these things that you want to do. But when you're thinking about the big picture of something, you just connect it to your inner self. You're in nature, you're in all these things. And it's like, the integration is what stops you from like moving to the jungle and just like blowing up your life. Right. It's like cause everybody like you come home and you're like, what am I doing? Like,
I do think that's a really good call out though, because I've had some experiences and I'm like, why wouldn't I just move to Costa Rica?
100%.
Like, I'm like, it's not that hard to get back to the US. I'll see you in a few months. But that's an interesting call out though. Like the integration is really important so that, you know, you've built a pretty good life and career. It's like if one day you're just like,
the integration is everything because like the experience, the medicine, all of that is like, that's an event. That is a conduit to allow you to see yourself, right? The integration is what are you going to do after you've seen it?
Yeah.
And how are you going to take that and make your community better, make your network of people better? How are you going to be that light more? And you can only be the light if you're in alignment. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about that as like, the more you're in alignment, the more that shutter is open, the less the more closed it is. So it's like, there's a dance that goes with alignment and like, and that. And it's hard. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Like you don't come home and everything is great. Like
totally.
There's a lot of like, you almost go into a little bit of mourning because like, that was really fucking sad about some of my friendships that fell off.
Yep.
And you realize like, that's just what needed to happen, right? Like, if you come back and people don't accept you for whatever this is, right? You have your ride or die friends and you go through all these different seasons.
Yeah.
And the ones that are there with you, like through the seasons, they've seen all the versions of you, right? Like I have friends that used to call me out for different versions of me, like leading up to that, right? And then like coming out of this, it's like, oh, I guess this is ayahuasca Joe now, you know?
That's amazing though.
Yeah. So it was like,
it's hilarious.
It was funny to go through that, but then like the friends that are there for you are there for you, right? And that's the thing that you risk. And a lot of people are like, I don't want to risk that. Honestly, like I don't want to look at dark corners. I'm afraid what I'm going to see. Like I don't need to do it. Like, and also like I'm okay being in this world of like, I don't want to say being blind, but like just not being hyper aware of all of this stuff. Because people think spirituality is like, I don't know. It's for like yogis and it's like anybody who sits there when they wake up in the morning or at night or in a quiet moment and they have this like moment of like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck am I here? Why do I care about this? Would I blow up my family? Would I do this? Like, then you go to these retreats and you hear people and like they're working through some really hard stuff. Should I leave my marriage? My wife wants to leave me. Is it because of me? Is it because of whatever? I didn't remember that I was molested when I was a kid and this just brought me back to that memory, like all of these crazy things that happened. And people are like, I'd rather not know, right?
I know.
Like that was something that I like wrote on Substack recently. It was like, I mean, if ignorance is bliss, right, then knowing is burden. Yeah. Right. And it's not easy. Like once you have the burden, you don't just get to turn it off.
No.
But it's so much more meaningful.
Yeah.
And you're willing to go into corners, but then you become so much more valuable to the network of people and to those around you, which is why I'm so excited for this little girl to come in a couple of weeks, because like, man, like if I were able to face my inner child and say like, I'm proud of you, you're the father that I needed, like now I have this opportunity to be that dad.
Yeah.
With all of this work, with all of this understanding on this like solid ground that I'm on, am I going to get it all right? Absolutely not. But like, I do feel like I'm in such a completely different state coming out of all of this to be prepared, with really like no fear.
Yeah.
Like I'm absolutely fearless when it comes to like being a dad. And I can attribute that to all of the work, right? Because like when you have kids when you're young, you're still trying to figure out who the fuck you are.
100%.
And when you get to do that work a little bit more and you're in this position when you're like, man, I can be that role model. I can be that example.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I think of like, man, I have these, and there's so many things happen in ceremony about my future daughter and all that, which we'll save for the next one. But
I feel like that's got to be so cool.
I mean, the coolest thing, and I'll touch on it very quickly.
Yeah.
There was a moment in one of my last ceremonies where there's a lot of music that what people don't realize, like ceremony is like live music, like the whole time.
Wow.
And it's indigenous music that's out of this world, amazing people, amazing messages, just like,
yeah.
And there was this moment where I got up and I started dancing. And typically when I do that stuff, I was like, I'd be a little stiff. Like I'm not the most like rhythmic guy, but like, that's why like, it would always take like alcohol for me to like go to the wedding and be like, all right, now let's rip it up.
Yep.
To get up and dance sober to me was always something that was difficult. And on these retreats, you do a lot of that, right? Like not in ceremony, but like out of it, like, totally. Okay, like stiff Joe, like move, right? So I got up and I started dancing, and I started dancing in this completely free, zero judgment of myself, for the people around me. Like it was just the most freeing experience. And I was like, what is happening right now? And then it hit me and it was like, dude, you're about to be a girl dad. And she's going to ask you to dance. And she's going to ask you to do silly shit. And I was like, I am all in.
Yeah.
I was like, I will never say no to that. I will like, and not only do I don't want to feel burdened, but like, I want to be like, let's do it. Like, I'm going to like push her to do it. And it was part of that like girl dad kind of like epiphany, so cool. Where I'm like, man, like I get to be that guy. Like I get to be like the present dad that if she's like, Dad, I want to dance, I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. You know? So it's, those are the breakthroughs that happen. And that happened because of the ceremony, right? Like it brought me, the music brought me to that. The music made me dance. The music gave me that feeling. And then the music gave me that beautiful enlightenment of being like, and then I sat there and I journaled about it and I was just like, oh man, I can't wait to meet this girl because like, I'm now so prepared. Right. And like, so there's a lot of beautiful things that can come from it. So it's like the integration is everything because like being able to write that down, right? And now I'm taking that into being a parent.
100%.
So like, that's the integration, right? It's not like just the drinking of the medicine, right?
Sure.
It's what are you going to do with what you learned?
Yeah. I feel like how many ever minutes that was, it's like, to me, that's compelling in itself for someone like me to be like, keep going on this journey, right? Keep digging. But for someone that's maybe like teetering and has like been interested in breath work or interested in, I have friends that have gone through similar retreats that I have, and now they're like, do we entertain the plant medicine world? Like, again, the way you just talked about that, if I watched that, I'd be like, okay, I'm in. Yeah. But what would be your advice to someone that's like clearly this has impacted your life, right? Like it, and even the way you're describing this, like New Yorker meathead that was only friends with UFC people, like it's funny to me because I've only met you as this like person that I'm like, I can't wait to learn more from you. Yeah. And not that I wouldn't want to learn from a meathead, but just different vibes. But I'm curious, like, what would be, like, how would you just like succinctly give like what all these breakthroughs have meant for your life and your future life? For someone that's maybe like, I don't want to think through maybe that thing in my childhood that I vividly remember. I don't want to think through like going through what I went through at 17 years old, like what would be your, not like your pitch, but you are a sales guy, but
Yeah, I mean, I would say the key to it is to start by spending time with yourself, right? In silence, whether it's meditating, whether it's breath work, and really start to think about those things, right? What would you trade off?
yep.
Would you be willing to face that, to come out of it on this massive other side, right? I posted something yesterday that like my intention going into my first ceremony was the chains that keep me grounded as a rock for everybody, all the people around me, and allow me to show up and be like the unfazed one in emergencies, in whatever it is. Those chains that keep me grounded stop me from feeling too much pain, but they also stop me from feeling too much joy. And
Wow.
what happened in the ceremony, this would take a while for me to go through, but in ceremony, it showed me immense pain, deeper, harder than I had ever thought would be possible from sitting there. And then once it brought me to a breaking point, it took me further. And that was when I was like, oh shit, this is no joke. Like, this is serious, serious work. Now, when the things that I talk about often are surrender, right? When I surrendered, right? And with that there's acceptance. When I surrendered and accepted, like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. You know what? I'm letting go. Like, take me as far as you need to go, go. In that moment, I went from like curled up in a ball on the bathroom, literally couldn't move. Then all of a sudden, like, I made that decision and I was like looking at a sink and I'm like, I need water so bad, because you're supposed to like keep your water with you. And I was just being cocky and I didn't. And then I found myself like in need.
Yeah.
When I made that decision, this guy, Pablo, walked in. He was an angel on earth, just holding a cup of water.
Jeez.
Right? And hands it to me. The beautiful thing about that moment is I realized that like nothing in the world was more important than that cup of water in that moment. So talk about being present. Now, once that happened, he left. It freed me and was like, now I'm going to show you the other side of this.
Yeah.
I got up like if I was not sick at all. And I was in like the bathroom area and I can hear in the Maloka the music playing. So I start dancing like in the bathroom. I danced my way all the way back to the Maloka. People are dancing like, and I joined and I had never felt joy like I did in that moment, ever. No moment, even when I found out my brother was going to be okay, because even in that, I wouldn't let myself feel enough, because of how many times like we went down that of like up and down and up and down. I'd never let myself like feel that joy. So it gave me that. And it showed me like, this is what can happen if you let go. Even a little bit, like loosen the chain, more pain, more joy. Loosen it more pain, more joy.
Wow.
So you have to be willing to make that and just feel more, right? Instead of just like drifting along muted where it's like safe, right? In sales, they always talk about like, don't let the highs be too high or the lows be too low. And you take that into your everyday life. And then all of a sudden, like you're robbing yourself of this joy and you're robbing yourself of like whatever. If suffering's going to happen, like that's where growth is. So it's like you're robbing yourself of growth. Wow. So why would you do that, right? And it was such an incredible, beautiful, painful, lovely experience that the people that I would say that are on the fence, right? They're curious, maybe it's too much for them or not. I think it's just have the courage to look inside of yourself and say, am I willing to take this chance to come out of this on the other side and maybe find a little bit more meaning to this time that we have left here, right? Because chances are if you're in this conversation, you're 25 plus or whatever it is, and you start just like really doing the math. I'm like, okay, what are my like good years left and da-da-da. And then there's a great book called like the Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And like the number one, right, is living a life that other people wanted you to live, not a life that you wanted to live. And if you never take the time to figure out the life you want to live, how can you possibly live it? Because it's not in your awareness. You can't get that vibration. People talk about manifesting, and like manifesting is one thing, right? Like visualizing, but if it's not in your core, you're not going to have that vibration that will attract it. So you can think it, right? And you can manifest and you do all the things, but it's not until you genuinely embody it that are you going to attract it.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to go look for it, you're never going to have it. So the people that are on the fence, it's like, you just take the time, right? To what is really important to yourself and what are you willing to do to get it? Because if you're not willing to go deep, there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe this wasn't your time, right? But the people that do, you come out of it in such a beautiful, but you have to have the right intention, all of that stuff. It's like, my advice to anybody that would go to do it is, like, admittedly, or selfishly, like, I would tell everybody to go to One Heart Journeys.
Yeah.
Just because I know the program is so safe.
Totally.
Because a lot of women are concerned because, like, you're vulnerable in these states.
Yeah.
So being with somebody who's trusted and being with a group of people that, like, you set the intentions going into it for a couple of weeks, you go through a very safe experience in Costa Rica, and then you come out of it, 5 weeks of integration coming out of it to help you, like, put these pieces in place.
Yeah.
So if you find the right program, it's very safe.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying ayahuasca, it could be breath work.
Yeah.
Right. And, like, proper breath work and proper meditation and proper, anything like this. Just be super curious to, like, really find out who you are.
Yeah. I love what you said. I mean, all of this is just insane, but that comment around, like, you obviously felt so much pain when your brother was going through his cancer, right? And I mean, even the way you lit up when you said it earlier, you were like, that day that we found out he was helped, like, that was obviously probably a super important day. But the way you just described the loosening of the chains of, like, I just love that. Like, if you loosen it, of course the joy could be that much greater, but so could the pain and the hurt. But it's like, think about, like, I think about myself, right? Like, some of my happiest, most joyful moments that I didn't even think I could experience were after, like, months of hard shit.
Yeah.
And the times where the joy was that much bigger was when I would actually sit with that versus rushing through it to hopefully find a happy moment, right? I love that so much. That group I'm a part of actually talks a lot about this. I'll give them a shout out, but it's like, they actually it's like a part of our, like, mantra, but it's like, the higher the branches go, the more you want to grow and live this life that you've just always dreamed of, the roots have to be deeper. And for them to be deeper in the ground, you've got to dig up the bad roots, the rocks, and it could get really super duper hairy. But the bigger, the badder, the cooler, the more special the life. Like, that shit matters.
Yeah. And I think, like, a lot of people don't realize how fortunate you are just today, right? One of the craziest things about that journey, like, showing me the suffering, is the medicine showed me literally what I would have felt if my brother died. Not like a Christmas carol, like the Ghost from Christmas Past or whatever. I felt it.
Yeah.
It showed me, like, this is how this would have felt if your brother would have died.
Yeah.
And even since then, like, I had my older brother, 10 years later, was diagnosed with a osteosarcoma in his thigh, and he had to go through a whole cancer thing too. So, but it showed me, like, hey, like this. And then when that happened, it took me even further. So then I just had a unbelievable appreciation for baseline.
Yeah.
Of, like, today, you know, like,
wow.
He did live.
Yeah.
You know what? And, like, and I am still breathing, right? And, like, all of this stuff. And then, like, you go outside and you're like, it's a beautiful night, right? And, like, the music is incredible. And you just then you have an appreciation for baseline. But a lot of times, like, from baseline, you can't really wrap your head around, like, how fortunate you are, because, like, maybe you need money, or maybe someone is sick, or maybe, like, everybody's either on their way to tragedy or they're coming from tragedy, right? And in that sense, like, bad shit is going to happen. People are going to get sick. People are going to die. Everyone's going to die, right? Like, and in this moment, like, if anybody says, how are you? And you're like, everything is okay. Like, that's pretty fucking incredible.
Yeah.
To just be at baseline. And I think that's what these things do. They just give you an appreciation for baseline. And then you're just like, man, I just want to be more curious. I want to experience love deeper, because like that joy that you chase, like there's love attached to that.
100%.
Right. So to like want to tell someone you love them more, right? Like, and in that scenario, my first ceremony, I remember being like, man, I want to be able to have more joy. I want to have like more whatever. And then I thought about my wife, and I was like, man, like behind closed doors, my wife is super funny and super goofy, and like we always like dance and shit like that. And I'm like, and maybe I didn't like, I was always a little like, like she's just being like funny, whatever. And I'm like, you want to have more joy, like go enjoy her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it was such a great thing to come home with, because I was like, man, I'm so happy that like I have that.
Yeah.
That we can just sit there in the living room and dance stupidly, and
Yeah.
it's like so much fun. It's like that's like the silly joy that you have. And when we were talking offline before, we talked about names.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, up until like 5th grade, everyone used to call me Joey. And when my parents got divorced, I moved to a different middle school. Like you kind of have to be like the tough guy. I like became Joe. And some childhood friends would still call me Joey Vasold, whatever. But in that ceremony, like she came, like, and a lot of people, like this happens, like this grandmother presence comes to you. Like, and I had that moment where it was like, I felt like, and there's a lot to it, but she said, you stop being able to feel joy when you stop being called Joey. Because I had to grow up because my parents were divorced and all this other shit. So it was like, and I was like sitting there and I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Right? Like what a weird thing to like never really think about.
Yeah.
Because like you become older and it's like you're a Joe, like, and you think like, man, I had to grow up so fast and I had to be a tough guy and it's out of survival mode and all of these things.
Yeah.
And then life comes full circle and you're like, now I get to be goofy with my daughter, and I can't like, I think about the joy that's going to happen from that. Like I think about us like dancing in the living room to just stupid shit and like all of that. Like,
Yeah.
man, that's going to be such an incredible experience. And I'm just so grateful that all of this stuff has led me to that.
Will you now introduce yourself as Joey?
I'm still not there yet. It's like it's weird to come out. Like my wife started like saying it every now and then, because when I told her that story, it's an interesting thing to try to reintroduce to your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I again, not having like a similar experience to that, but I feel like through breathwork situations, I used to wear my hair curly and people used to call me KK, and now it's Kayleen slick back hair. And sometimes this is just easier than curling my hair or letting it. But I've probably in the past 6 months experienced something similar with like the playfulness that means so much to me. And pushing that down because you think that you have to be this strong, like, you know, men, women play different roles in that regard. But that story is very, very cool.
I mean, when you talk about like something, I don't say cliche, but like self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Right. As a guy, like you grew up like, you're not a dancer, right? You're not a musician.
Yeah.
You're not an artist. You're not this, right? Like, and then as you get a little, you play sports. You are tough. You are this, you know? That becomes a self-limiting belief. So like if you go to dance and like your friends are like making fun of you, like all of that's just like hitting you to your core. Like, oh,
100%.
ha ha ha, look at you dancing. And you're like, eh. But like even yesterday, right? For example, I was listening to this song from this awesome artist. I actually put it on my Instagram post yesterday. This guy, Jesus. He was one of the musicians in my first ceremony. And I was like listening to this song, Amor Medicina. And I just felt like I literally got up. I put it on the Sonos in every fucking room in my apartment. And I was blasting it. And I was literally dancing. And my dog was like, what the hell are you doing, bro?
Yeah. He's like, I've never seen Dad do this.
I just could not stop dancing. Like my wife wasn't there. And I just had like the same thing. I would feel the stiffness in my hands. I would just shake it out. I'm like, all right, like just let go. Just let go. And it's like when you get there and you can be with people that acknowledge that, right? Where I don't give a fuck if you're dancing silly or not. I'm not going to tell you you're a bad dancer.
Yeah.
Go harder. Like go bigger. Like who cares? Like let it all happen. Like you want to play music terribly. You want to sing terribly. Like all these, whatever you want to do it. And I think those self-limiting beliefs become so ingrained with who we are that like we don't even know that we believe them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you don't even have the courage to say that it's there. You're not going to be like, I genuinely believe that I'm a bad dancer because everyone has always said I'm a bad dancer. You turn a corner and you're like, I don't give a fuck that I'm a bad dancer.
Yeah.
I am just going to dance if I want to dance,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I think there's just a lot of beautiful things that can come from it.
Oh man. I mean, you are such a powerful human being, and like I cannot wait for people to experience this. And I feel like when you and I talked at the post that one day, I feel like you just have goals around like, you know, I don't even want to say impact, but the light that you'll be to so many people. Like, and I think this little girl is so lucky.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Like, it's the best.
Yeah. Well, that version is good for everybody, you know, like that's the whole like alignment thing, like living in a joyful state, right? Like that only helps community. That helps people around you when so much shit is so ugly and so dark and so divided and all of this stuff where it's like, man, like the guy who founded One Heart Journeys, this guy, Brandon, like he always talks about like, just always act as if your daughter is watching, right? And that's something that I've always done my entire life is like, I always act if someone is watching, mainly if I'm watching, because I'm going to be the biggest critic of that.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, and it's like, is your daughter going to care that you close this deal at work because then all of a sudden like you can make more money and you can do whatever? Or is your daughter going to be like, she's going to see you walk away from a business that you cared a lot about because like it didn't feel aligned any longer? Or are you making decisions like for the family, or are you willing to put like the what you truly value ahead of the other stuff? And you watch what happens to the people around you. Like that's when like people like you come into my life, when other people like in these ceremonies that come into my life, where I'm like, these are the people that are meant to be here. And maybe it's like an intuition or just like through selling for so long, is like, I can meet somebody in 2 minutes, and not even 2 minutes, 2 words, and say, this is somebody that I know will be in my group, will be in my network, is somebody that like, if they need anything, I'm there. And it happens I have a lot of select friends that are like that. And that is that vibration thing, I think. Because when you have that, you find the right people. It's like, we had that call and you were in Italy, and I knew right away, I was like, oh, there's something special about this person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just want to continue the conversation. And you said that in to me as well. It's just like, there's something there where you're like, it clicks, and you're like, no, there's more here. There's a genuine goodness to this person, and like the vibration is what hits.
Yeah.
Because like I can feel that, where I'm like, oh, this feels right for like what I'm doing. And I think that's kind of what you want to be able to bring like to the table, is like you connect the right people. And if the people that have been around for your whole life, like their vibrations don't match anymore, there's nothing wrong with that. Like they're still good people, they're still beautiful people. But maybe you're just not in that state any longer.
Yeah. I think this conversation is such a cool reminder of like, I also feel like there's 1,700 other things I want to ask and talk about, but that like the work that you've done, while it's been hard, like what's on the other side are new people, new experiences. And to me, it's like, there's like a whole nother life that you're about to experience as a dad. And like, what does that bring in? And I just think it's incredible. And I said this to you when I talked to you when I was in Italy. I'm like, I don't even give a shit if this guy joins the post. Like, I'm like, he is going to be my friend and I truly like, I just can't wait to learn from you, because you have me thinking about so many things. Like, I feel like I'm about to go spend 3 hours alone just to like think and absorb, but you are just so cool. And I feel like if we don't wrap soon, this might go on for 10 hours.
Yeah.
But I want you to reflect on a few things. I mean, again, I feel like we've just scratched the surface around like who Joe is. And I do think you're going to like change people's lives, and I can't wait to see how that unfolds. But like, of all the things you've done in your I forget your age, but do you want to say it on air?
41 now.
41. But in your 41 years, I'm curious, like, what's, like, kind of quick, not quick answer, but like gut answer, like, what's the thing you're most proud of in the past 41 years?
I mean, it's very hard to not say the way that I showed up for my brother and my family and all of that. Like, that's a very quick, like, because in that moment, like, I felt like that was my purpose.
Yep.
Like, if I was brought here to do anything, it was to go through those synchronicities to get me into that moment, because, like, there's no denying that those things put me in that position. Therefore, I was meant for that. And now this whole second act of life is very different. So I would say that the thing that I'm most proud of is the genuine commitment to being good, I think. And it sounds kind of cheesy. And I've had people in my life that maybe I didn't believe that they thought that I was good. And it is such a sensitive thing to me, because, like, I'm so committed to that I think that's the thing I'm most proud of, is, like, my commitment to, like, always trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Because everything else will fall into place. Like, I don't care about accolades. I don't care about, like, I know kind of like everybody wants to be like, what are you going to be remembered for? What do you want to be remembered for? For me, like, I don't feel the need to be remembered for anything.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm just going to be, and if there's an impact, amazing, right? Like, I don't think Shakespeare wrote Hamlet being like, I hope that Joe and Kayleen someday talk about this on a podcast.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like there's just shit that happens.
Yeah.
And I think it's that. I think it's like the thing I'm most proud of is, like, who I am.
Yeah.
And, like, what I've grown into through either adversity, like learning what not to be as much as learning what to be. Mm-hmm. And then just continuing to serve, and whenever it feels right and when I can, and not do it in a way that is, like, detrimental to, like, my own experience, because like I have this life too. So
yeah, I feel like I always end with the question of what do you want to be remembered as, so I'm not going to do that, because I do feel like you said being a role model is important to you, but I do love kind of the caveat of, like, but not at the expense of the life that I'm living. I'm going to close differently. When your daughter is, like, old enough to learn, and not that you're just sitting down giving her all these pieces of advice, you know, I'm ayahuasca Joe, and daughter, here's my piece of advice, but, like, what's like the number one thing you hope your daughter adopts from what you've learned in your life?
I think it's there's going to be a courage kind of attached to this, where I want her to, I believe my job as a dad is going to be as a guide, not as a teacher, right? And to let her figure stuff out and to let her be whatever, because again, like, to me, all lights are created equal, right? So the physical body, whether she's my daughter, she's a stranger on the street, whatever it is, like, there's this light, and her light is my light, and all of the lights are connected, all this stuff. So I think what I want to teach her is to have the courage to look inside and to understand that whatever she is enough, and she has this safe environment to continue to explore. And then for the day that I'm not there, that she understands that, like, that is kind of like how we heal the world, is through this kind of, like, self-healing. We talked about that generational trauma stuff. I want her to just have that feeling of, like, my dad let me be who I was meant to be. And that doesn't mean, like, say yes to the kid and let them do everything and all this stuff. Like, you still have to be a parent and teach them through experience. But it's that freedom. So I want to sit in that moment. I want her to be like, my dad is letting me be who I am meant to be. And then I want her to pass that on to her kids someday and to her friends. And I hope that she changes the world, and with just, like, her beautiful personality and all of that stuff. So,
man, again, we could have kept going. But truly, I feel like there are, like, 10 follow-ups to this. But Joe, this was amazing. I didn't know where we were going to go, and I think it happened just as it was supposed to today. This feels weird ending it because I just want to keep going, but let people
We'll
know.
chat more.
Yeah, I'm like, can you do coffee tomorrow?
We'll go to the post tomorrow.
I actually would. But tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, I mean,
And you also don't have to tell them
yeah,
because
you can find me anywhere. No, I mean, it's just, I'd like to post on Instagram now, mainly because like that kind of like role model component where you get over this hump of like, am I searching for attention? You want to be the center of attention. You're looking for this, you're looking for that, where it's like, no, like if I feel like there's something I want to do or share or talk about, like I just do it. And I tend to do that on Instagram. And then with all of these writings and things that have come to me, I started to put some stuff on Substack, which I put it as the unlearning journey, because like to me, the way that I see it is like we're so conditioned as men, as women, to like think a certain way and to all this stuff. Like, so in order to move forward, we actually have to unlearn first to then learn how to live in alignment. So that's how I went on the Substack thing.
And they can just try and find you at Joe. I don't know how Substack works.
Substack is the unlearning journey. I
Okay,
guess that's
so
what it's called.
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Or you can just search Joe Vasold, and
Okay.
Instagram is either Joe_Vasold or whatever it is.
Okay.
But more importantly, I think everybody should follow my dog's Instagram, which is the blue paw print.
I love it.
Because that is like my super joy right now, is like making stupid dog videos, because he's just wonderful, and it's like my new favorite hobby.
I love that. Also, you did, this is kind of in line with like you posting more and even your I don't think it's stupid, I've not seen it, but silly dog stuff. You posted something like a week ago on Instagram that like deeply inspired me. It was like, if you want to post that selfie, post it. You want to post that. And I feel like as I've gone on this journey, and I even look at like Facebook posts I used to put 15 years ago, it was like these deep quotes. And I remember feeling so like what you posted the other day, I'm like, fuck it. If I want to post that weird quote, if I want to, and I love selfies, by the way. Yeah. So when you sent that, I was like, my sister and mom are always like, all right, I'm just like, I like them if I feel cute or whatever. But you posting that, like, actually we'll probably tag that when we launch this, because I thought that was like the most beautiful way to put it, because there is so much pressure around social media and content creation. And if you want to do it, just do it. And like you post really inspiring stuff. And it's like, that's, you know, this role model that you're here to be.
It's super interesting, because that post, every now and then, like something resonates with people more than other things have. That post has gotten so many personal notes. Like I've had people stop me, like to be like, hey, I really needed this today.
Yep.
And that was something that I wrote a while ago, and it was just like lingering, and it was lingering, and it was lingering. And then like, I don't know why.
Wait, you wrote that?
Yeah.
I thought it was just like something you.
No, I wrote that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it didn't happen.
It has the quote from the movie, but outside of that, that's all.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just like, I take these, I literally have 200 things like banked of like, I wake up, because when I first wake up in the morning, I just sit there, eyes closed, and I let my mind go. And usually like, that's when writing comes to me. And like, I have to like keep my eyes closed and like write it in my notes and then close my eyes to get back to it. And then like, it ends up there. And sometimes like I write it and then I forget about it and then I go back to it. And what sparked it was like, I saw a friend post a selfie. It was just like her standing on stairs. And I remember being like, she never does that. And I'm like, and then right away I'm like, is she going through something? Do I need to reach out? Like, is there something wrong? Like, is there something wrong with her marriage? Is there something like that? And I'm like, man, why do I think that? And then that was to me, I'm like, again, like, we just want to be witnessed. Like, we want to, like, there's a lot of times, like, especially like with gym stuff or whatever, like you put in work, right? It's not easy. And then you see like the gain, you see a little whatever, and you're like, man, I just want to share this. Like, I want other people to witness my existence. And it's such a beautiful thing to have the courage to be like, I don't post it. Who gives a shit? Just post it. Yep. And it doesn't mean like you need to like post all the time or like force it. But like, if you have a feeling where you're like, I want others to see this, and maybe they respond, maybe they don't. But you know what? At least the life that I'm living, like, is going to go noticed, right?
But to your point too, it's like there's so much judgment, and I do it too. The amount of times that I've been like, ooh, she's posting a lot of selfies. She must be like needing validation or attention, and it's like absolutely not.
The hard thing is it can be, right?
Yeah.
That's the hard thing, is like they always talk about like the relationships that post more are the ones that are more fragile, and the ones that don't post are the ones that are stronger. Or like, are there people that post because like they need attention? Absolutely, right? There is. Are there people that post because they just want to share and they want to be? Absolutely. Like there's always, that's a thing of like what we were talking about before, some men, some women. Some people posting are doing it for certain reasons, and some people are doing it for other reasons.
Yeah.
So it's really just like, again, leave that little bit of wiggle room so that the conversation isn't so absolute. But if you're in that position where, look, even if you're posting because you need attention, like maybe you need attention. Maybe you need someone to say, Joe, that quote was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing it. And to me, I'm like, oh, this is so validating, you know, and you don't know what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, like, that's the whole like understanding yourself and freeing yourself from judgment, right? Is like, and that's what that quote says, like being free from judgment is like, there's a freedom that comes with it, but it's also like, man, we don't have a lot of time here. So if you have something you want to share with somebody, just do it, right? You want to start a podcast, do it. You want to like whatever, just do it. Like, just go. Like if it doesn't work, who gives a fuck? Just go.
Totally.
So that's kind of, I don't know, closing motto, I guess.
I love it. Joe, this was like truly an honor. I knew you were special, but this was just special. Like truly, I feel like I've got things to think about, but I feel like literally we could keep going, but we're going to wrap it.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm very much a fan of what you're doing. I started watching like a couple of them and I was like, oh man, I need to keep going. So, I know in your last guest, Sonny talked about like being proud of you, and that's a real thing. I think when you see somebody with courage and you see somebody putting themselves out there and be vulnerable, when vulnerable is like such a Brene Brown watered down thing now, but really living it and embodying it is it's not an easy thing, and to do it repeatedly and to put yourself out there. So I'm very grateful to be part of it, and this is absolutely just the beginning of something bigger.
That means a lot. And I'll tell you this, like, today's episode and you just even validating me and what I'm doing, like you have kind of challenged me just through what you've shared to like keep showing up even in a deeper, more vulnerable way, while also having like, you know, the play associated with that. Like you've really just, again, I like cannot wait to go home to think about like just some of the things we've talked about, because it's like I have a platform. I hopefully show up in a way that makes me connect with people like you, but like I'm just like, all right, it's time to go like probably a little bit deeper, or to use your term, like loosen the chain a little bit. Like if I loosen that chain, how much more joy could this, I'm speaking specific to the podcast, but like how cooler could the conversations be? How much deeper could they be? Right? Like I think something I actually felt afraid of on these, I interviewed my parents and it was like, oh, we kind of cried on that. Like, is this the brand? Fuck yeah, that's the brand I want. Like it 100%, it feels so good to like talk about these things, to tear up at what you're saying. Like, you know, next conversation, I hope we're like both bawling. Like, I don't know.
It's very possible.
Yeah, I know, but I felt like I felt myself holding back in just some of what you shared. But like, yeah, this was amazing. And I think I always love recapping this to the guests, but just what I said, Joe, your comment around, I just love that analogy. It just makes so much sense of the chain. It's like, if we loosen that, the joy that we can feel paired with like the depth of the pain. But my favorite part is the baseline, then you appreciate more. Like that left me, to me, it's like, we're going to double down on some of this work, because it's like, then to know that like just my okayness is going to be that special. Like, ugh. But y'all, we could keep going. Joe, you're the best.
Thank you.
You guys are going to look him up on Substack, look at his Instagram, but I hope this episode changes y'all, simply. Joe, thank you for joining. Thank you all for tuning into That One Thing with Kayleen. Again, if Joe's story inspired you, share this episode, or I'd go check out your writings, because that quote you put, I was like, wait, now that you said you wrote it, it's amazing. But Thank you all so much for joining That One Thing with Kayleen. Joe,